Hi, I'm Rachel Jewett, Senior Managing Editor of Via Satellite, and I am here back again at SAT Show Week with Ryan Jennings, Director of SATCOM and Systems Engineering at Qorvo. Excited to chat with Ryan more about Qorvo's work and some of the changes that we're seeing in the industry. So Ryan, to kick us off, can you tell me a little bit about Qorvo and your work with the company?
Yeah, at Qorvo, we're an RF-centric focused company. We do both devices that go in the satellite side, as well as in the ground terminals. Okay. So whether it's the large phased arrays that are on the new LEO satellites, to the consumer phased array terminals that are used on the ground to communicate, and basically any kind of RF part in those chains, we're supporting that today.
Awesome. How is the SATCOM market evolving? As you mentioned, LEO and more constellations and networks coming online. Are we really seeing a shift to multi-orbit systems yet? We
are, and that's been one of the biggest topics I've had at this conference, and where people want the ability to have connectivity, and they really don't care how, right? They just want connectivity, and that can be most effectively achieved by having access to anything. You look at your cell phone as an example. I can have a cell phone that I can go to T-Mobile, I can go to AT&T, I can go to Verizon. It doesn't change the hardware. So by having a terminal solution that can support both bands simultaneously, that gives you the ability to pick your carrier and run with it.
You have that flexibility, you're not locked into one system.
Correct. Because you see a lot today in the LEO market where the OEMs are providing terminals that are locked to their networks. And so once you buy that, you're stuck with that unless you want to replace hardware.
Yeah. With all the innovation happening in space, where do you see the biggest technical challenges, especially on the ground for a company like Qorvo?
Yeah, so thermal's always, this is usually the biggest thing. Generating RF energy generates a lot of power, of heat. And so being able to have a terminal that doesn't require any special unique cooling solutions is always a big challenge. And the higher we move in frequency, as we move to Ka band with the Kuipers and the Telesats, that becomes even more challenging because it's a much smaller footprint of the antenna itself. So the thermal densities become much higher. And then as well, everybody wants everything cheap. So cost and driving the cost out of these electronic components, we've made great strides in that. But everybody always wants more.
More, cheaper. Yes. And that's, like you said, it's really complex engineering and
it
difficult
is.
manufacturing.
It is. And we've seen that through, many years of coming to this show. There's been a lot of different ESA companies trying to do this, but there's not a lot that actually achieve good volume production because it is hard. It is a hard problem, especially hard to try to do it in volume. The defense community has done it for years and years with very high cost, high exquisite products, whereas we need something that's like consumer type.
Okay, yeah. So what types of use cases then?
So we, pretty much across the gamut, whether it's, the terminal that you would put at your home to something that would be on a fighter jet. And so that does bring unique requirements, potentially for those different applications. So trying to have something that is universal is good for volume and cost, but it doesn't necessarily always solve every one of the use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you see Qorvo contributing most as these more complex SATCOM systems are deployed?
So as I mentioned earlier, the satellite side, we do a lot of work in the satellite side, whether it's on the high throughput payloads or the direct to device payloads. And we continue to innovate, bringing DC power down, bringing performance up, bringing costs down, but then also similarly on the terminal side, we have several new products that we've introduced this year to support KU, Ka band, whether it's full duplex or half duplex at KU band. So just continuing to innovate there, bringing down the cost, increasing performance is where we're headed with all of our products.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like Qorvo is really at the center of a lot of these developments happening in the industry. And you even mentioned direct-to-device, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting market that we'll see how it actually plays out. It's not a clear future yet, but there's certainly a lot of really unique things that I think you can do with that direct-to-device, especially for the people that own their own spectrum, where they have that freedom to kind of do what they want to do. It really opens up a lot of different things, and I've heard people bring up stuff at the show like, oh yeah, I could do that too. With that, it's just use cases are coming up every day for that application.
Yeah, great. Well, it's been great to talk with you and here at the end of the week to kind of hear your takeaways from the week. So
Yeah,
thanks for
no,
your time.
thank you so much.